see, did I share this already? Hey guys, everyone who is watching, welcome to the Gamers Realm podcast. I'm going to welcome everyone, starting with Katetsu.
What's going on, guys? Awesome to be here today.
One up, level up.
Hey, what's up, everyone? It's a long time no see. I'm finally back after about a month absent.
Glad to have you, dude. Xavier.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there? I'm glad to be on here.
Lizzie Silvas. Sonic and Sonic, don't forget. And of course, myself, Mr. Switch. And I want to introduce you guys, our special guest, the awesome and amazing Phil Adam. How you doing, sir?
Hey, good. I'm doing great. I've been absent for 66 years on here, so good to be on for the first.
All right. I would say let's get straight to the good stuff. Tell us more, everything, or as much as you want. Not to tell us that much, but or again, give us 3 hours, 4 hours. I'm just kidding, but let's go in with your life story.
I mean, we'll hit my video game life story. I was born in rural Missouri, and I had moved to Colorado, and a buddy of mine I had met. I worked at a computer store, and I did national accounts for Apple and IBM, and we sold computer when we started a software store. And one of the guys that did some work with me wanted to start a video game company, and he says, I really don't know how to get products sold and to do the sales side of it or whatever. And so I joined him, and we did our very first game. And that first game was called Gato, which was a World War II submarine simulation. It was a compiled basic program. It was interesting because we had to look at what we could do that was different. And I always say that after Microsoft Flight Simulator had been #1 on Billboard magazine for almost 3 years, we were the first product to take it out on #1 on Billboard magazine. And I always kid that with only 3 products on the market, it wasn't too hard. So Gato was kind of the first big foray into the business of World War II submarine simulation. Probably one of the first companies that ever started a company based on doing a product for the PC Junior. And the funny thing about doing it on the PC Junior is there really weren't other games there. So there were like 3 or 4 new PC Junior magazines that came out in gaming, and we got the cover of every magazine. So it really kind of propelled us into doing something unique and different. It was a historical recreation of a World War II Gato class submarine. Most people would say Gato. Gato was Spanish for cat. We did that. We did a space shuttle simulation orbiter, Falcon, Telstar, which was in 1984 the #1 educational product. So everything we were doing was PC based. And then Jeff and I met this guy who was doing an F-16 simulator, a game called Falcon. And so we ended up merging company and had investment come from a British company, Mirrorsoft, and that was in 1986. We had started Spectrum in 82. And again, primarily PC-based gaming. What got me into gaming in the year or two before that was I started playing Star Raiders, which was a game when I played it on the Atari 400 chiclet keyboard. I played all the Atari games back then, but I liked the fact that you went to different sectors or whatever. And Gato was kind of if you take a look at Gato, and I don't know if you're familiar with it, it essentially you went to different sectors. So it was a submarine in World War II, much like you went to different worlds or galaxies with Star Raiders back in the day. And that's how I kind of got started into the business. And, with Falcon, and then probably the one product I'm more noted for being involved with as a game. Maybe some of you have heard of Tetris.
Never heard of it.
No, I know. I'm sorry. I'm coming up with all these things that you've never heard of. I apologize. I had been doing some, since you're in Chicago based, I had been doing work with a group that was run by the Daly family, which I think in the Chicago area, you know that family. They had a sister city in St. Petersburg in Russia. They had another company in Moscow. And I went over to London and meeting my sister company over there. And I was president of Spectrum Holobyte at the time. And Jim McConaughey says, I want you to see this little tabletop game, could probably sell for $3 or $4 and see what you think of it. And it was Tetris. And all it was, there was no music, no sound, no scoring system, no backgrounds, blocks falling. And I was supposed to go meet him a half hour later for dinner. That was at about 7:30 at night. When they came in to the office at 8 o'clock the next morning, I was still playing it. I had not left the computer. It was compelling. And the thing I thought about it, because I think very marketing oriented, was at that time, Lay's potato chip had their big ad, I bet you can't eat just one. And it popped into my head, I bet you can't play it just once. So when we then designed Tetris, we put in the different scenarios or screens from the Soviet Union, added, it was still a communist Soviet Union at the time. We added the music. We even added into the intro, a 16-year-old from Germany flew a biplane and landed it in Red Square. And the Soviet, they weren't very proud of that happened without being able to bomb him down, right? So we're introducing Tetris at the Herbst Theater, and that's where the UN charter was signed in San Francisco. So I'm with the Soviet ambassador, probably the number 2 or 3 political figure from the Soviet Union in the United States, and we're doing the introduction. And he said, I don't know if we'd like that you put that plane in there. I says, you know what? All we know is propaganda you tell your kids about us, and this is still communist Soviet Union, and the propaganda we tell our kids about you, this shows that you have a sense of humor. It might let people see your citizens in a different light. It's worth giving it a shot. And he says, okay, we'll do that. And so I introduced him. We had gotten a Reagan and Gorbachev lookalike that we took on the road with us to introduce Tetris. And I tell you, a really funny story. And I grew up in a town of 2,500 in rural Missouri, and I'm truly a farm boy. And we're sitting there, and I introduced him, and I gave my 4 or 5 minute speech. I was very young and nervous and, afraid to speak at the time, as you can tell, I'm not now. But I introduced him, and I never understood power or ego until a moment when he got up to speak. He goes, ladies and gentlemen of the press, and he turns to me and go, Mr. President. And I'm going, whoa, my head gets this big. It was like, not that I want to be assassinated or be president, because unlike Bill Clinton, I inhaled, but another story for another time. I think it was kind of that bridge when we saw, it was a year or two before the Berlin Wall was torn down. I was in Red Square when the Soviet people were allowed to speak against communism, and tanks are around Red Square. And this is about a year after Tiananmen Square. And they moved me out of downtown to a hotel out because they didn't want me to be part of it. I didn't care what happened. You got a chance to be part of history, of something great, just like we did in the video game business, but you're part of something that you'll never get a chance to be part of ever again. And you don't really care if anybody knows it. I haven't shared this story with many people, but to be there in Red Square when the Soviet people were able, I had no clue what the hell they were saying. No, W to the it's, but it was important. It was great to be part of. So that's kind of how I got started in the video game business in the 1980s. I always was somebody who met people easily. After Spectrum, a company called Interplay asked me to come down, and they were a small development company, and Activision was publishing their product. And they said, hey, we'd like to publish our own product. We'd like to take it to sales, do the sales and marketing. We want to make that happen. And I said, yes. I was done with the other company. I moved to Southern California. First company we did a product and game with, it was called Lost Vikings, with a company called Silicon and Synapse. I later introduced them to my friends at Davidson, who bought them. They're now known as Blizzard. So I was dealing with Alan Adham, Mike Morheim, when it was 6 people. And they were just getting in the business, and they were our developer. So we got to do some great products with them. I did the original, after SSI had done the original D&D deal, I got to meet Gary Gygax and go to Wisconsin and do the AD&D deal. When Ray and Greg came down from BioWare, we signed them to a 4 or 5 product deal. When the guys from Parallax came and showed us a little game called Descent, we decided to pick that up and publish
love
that.
Descent. Descent was like my childhood game. My dad introduced me to Descent when I was a kid.
So we did a kind of a 180 version for CoinUp and put it into New York, and Las Vegas with a group out of Atlanta. And in the first hour, 6 people threw up. So we had to figure out how to balance that one. So and then I flew into Boston and had the first meeting with a couple of guys, Andy and those guys at a little company called Naughty Dog. And at Interplay, Universal had bought 30% of Interplay at the time, and we didn't have the bandwidth to do it. They had kind of a Mortal Kombat like game that Jason and Andy were doing. And I went to their office, which consisted of their apartment with their dog laying on my lap as I'm watching it. And then I took them to Legal Seafood and bought them dinner, and it was their first official dinner in the game business. And so we couldn't do it, but our sister company at Universal could do it. And we signed them to a multiple product deal, including a little game called Crash Bandicoot. So I've been involved with some good properties. And I guess for me, in college, I decided my lot in life. I took BASIC, I took Fortran, and then I took COBOL. And COBOL, I said, I'm getting the hell out of programming, and I'm getting into sales and marketing. This shit's too hard. So, I was a math major. I'm in the 99th percentile in math, and I can code. I just really have never told anybody I could. And I'm a social animal. So to bridge that gap between what developers and programmers and designers do to transition that to sales and marketing, I always understood the passion. I was the mouthpiece for the passion and the people doing the game. And they loved it because when I went in front of the press and media, I was there representing them. I wasn't taking credit. I let the world know who the true rock stars were. I was just the guy to announce the rock stars. I was to tell them, and I kept them together, and I got sales and marketing talking together with development to build something that people would enjoy, that people would play. Because what were we really selling? We were selling what people did with their leisure time. You can go play baseball, you can go to a sporting event, you can go to a movie, or you can play video games. And we were selling a passion that I had. And I'm 66 years old. I've been doing it for 40. If you guys think I'm any less passionate about it today than I was then, and people in the company still say today, a lot of very young people, you still got to see if you can keep up with Phil. Yep. So that's kind of the nut of it. There's a lot deeper stories in there I could tell you, but essentially, it's, I've been involved in the creation of over 300 intellectual properties. I've understood how to license them. I'm now with Intellivision. So you guys are very familiar with that from a retro standpoint. I've got my Amico shirt on. Amico, Intellivision Amico. What is Amico? It's the Italian word for friend. And what we're doing is we're bringing back what the original part of console gaming in 1979 or whatever, when Intellivision and Atari were fighting it out. And, you know, those were the two precursors to Xbox and Sony and Nintendo bringing out consoles. Those were the original consoles. And then in '84, we had that crash. And that's why I didn't go into the console business. I went into the PC game business because console was kind of dead for 6 years until we saw the NES system, until we saw something unique and different. So gaming became part of the PC rather than a console for a period of time. And so what we're doing is the original games you played, whether it was Major League Baseball or whatever, there was no internet. You got 3 or 4 people in a room and you played games together. It was bringing people back together again. And there's nothing wrong with isolated gaming, internet gaming, but it's you know, when you're playing games on a phone, it's one person on a phone. And granted, you can play, you know, whether it's Jackbox games or whatever, you can play multiplayer gaming. But for most part, when you have 4 people sitting around in the living room on 4 different telephones, they're all doing something separate, not together. So we saw that as a hole in the market. So when Nintendo came out with a little product, what was it called? The Wii. People laughed at them. People said, who the hell's going to buy that? That's not for the hardcore gamer. You're right. It wasn't for the hardcore gamer. It was for everybody else. And you have to remember that there's 200 to 250 million hardcore gamers. There's 3 billion people playing mobile games. But they're still playing them isolated. So we're kind of bringing back that in television mentality. It is a modern day console. I don't know how much you've seen about it. I encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and check out the latest hardware and software videos that we've done. And no, it's not at the quality graphics of an Xbox 5, but we're at about $250. Our games are $10 or under, but we're going to be doing Earthworm Jim. We've got some incredible deals. We've already announced deals with Major League Baseball. And television signed the original Major League Baseball license. The first license Major League Baseball ever signed with a game company, was in television in the late 1970s. So we're bringing that back. But we're family oriented. We want to bring the entire family into play. So I've signed a deal with Sesame Street. We've got around 10 to 12 Sesame Street products where mom or dad can play with their 2 or 3 or 4-year-old. And because we are multiplayer, couch co-op, not over the internet, mom can play the same game as the child and help them and do that together. We do come with 2 wireless controllers, and we have something very unique. It's a color touch screen. So you have, let's say we wanted to play Texas Hold'em. Well, you can't do that on a console today because your cards would be up there and everybody knows what you're holding. But when you've got the flop on the screen and you've got your 2 cards that you can look at in your hand, you can play Hold'em. You can play it in the same room. So from a designer developer standpoint, we now give them multiple screens that they can build a game unique that they haven't been able to build in the past. And yes, you can somewhat with a Switch, but if you have 6 or 8 Switches in the room at $250, $300 a pop, it's expensive. Yeah. With ours, you have 2 controllers. You want to add another controller, all you do is you can buy more of our controllers, happy to sell them to you, or you can grab your phone, download the app.
Oh, nice.
And so Android or iPhone, either one. So you have 6 buddies come over and you want to play cornhole. Have a cornhole tournament. Hey, cornhole's bundled with it. Incidentally, on ESPN2 about a month and a half ago, cornhole, 16 million people. Wimbledon tennis, 12 million. Tell me what's a sports game? It's cornhole. It's not tennis. So, you know, it's unique. It's different. And again, we fit something very unique. I mean, how many people said the Wii was not going to succeed? It didn't succeed 102 million times, the 3rd largest selling console of all time. That's pretty good failure, I think. I don't know. I'll take 50 million in televisions out there, and I'll be happy. I think we're not. I don't think we're for the hardcore gamer, but we're kind of for everybody. But if you want to play Cloudy Mountain or a D&D game and your buddies all come over, you can play a board game, or you can play together on an Amico. So we're not really in competition with Microsoft or Sony. We're very different. We're not going head to head. Atari says they're going head to head with them. I'm sorry, we get our butt kicked. To sit there and go out with a console without the name Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo in front of it, people think you're nuts. We are nuts, and we like being nuts. It's the thing that we think makes us unique. I've done deals with Mattel and Hot Wheels. We'll have a very unique game there. I've got a lot of other discussions I'm having. So I'm actually the global VP of sales and business development. So I handle all the licensing. As you can see, my experience with bringing in the BioWares and those people. And I get to deal with some of the best developers in the world that I've been doing business with for 40 years. So I kind of get to have it all. I mean, I want to be me when I grow up. What the hell? I mean, but I'll never grow up. I mean, it's my wife says, well, you may be 66, but mentally you're not even old enough to drive. So I love what we do. And I want to tell you what a pleasure it is to be on this podcast with all of you. Because you're the reason I've been doing this for 40 years. You're and you know, I've had AD&D people when we did Fallout, and I sold Fallout to Bethesda, which I did that deal, a little deal I did, not a big deal. But honestly, some of the biggest critics in the world are people that are passionate about games. What do? I listen. I come on to you guys' podcast when Lizzie talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I love listening to you guys. I made a couple comments, but at the end of the day, it's your passion and what you're doing and what you see that inspire me, and not just me, Tommy Tallarico, an incredibly passionate individual. David Perry, who, you know, Shiny Entertainment and created Earthworm Jim and many others. And, you know, we've got Jason Enos, who works with me on the business development. Have you ever heard of Dance Dance Revolution? You kind of brought that in from Japan.
I am a Dance Dance fiend.
Metal Gear Solid. Maybe you've heard of that when he was the lead producer on that. This is who I get to do business with every day. And I got my youngest son, I hate to even admit it, who's 37. Yeah. I always say I'm 47, but when I have a son that's 48, it's hard to get away with that. But you know, every time I talk to my son, he's in Cleveland, and he sits there and says, how's Jason today? Because Metal Gear Solid was all the time. I says, hey, I'm your dad. How am I doing today? But honestly, I love going and listening to podcasts. Sometimes I haven't felt like doing a lot of them. I've done a few in Germany. You know, I always say I don't know if I'm nerdy enough, but you guys can tell I'm pretty nerdy. So
we love that. You fit right in with us.
Yeah, I think that, and I hate to dominate, but these stories all happen because of my passion in the business and passion for bringing unique product to the world. And needless to say, doing Tetris with Alexi in the beginning, and then Hank, and introducing Hank to Tetris, and it's so funny. Maya Rogers, who's the president of the Tetris company, when I first introduced Hank to it, she was a 2-year-old girl sitting on my lap in Akihabara. And the reason we went to Akihabara is because I had to have a Neo Geo because I wanted to play R-Type. So before it ever came to the States, I was a nerd back in the day. So and I still have a passion for gaming. And television's an opportunity to bring families together, of having a grandchild play with their grandfather. Maybe they have a hard time talking, but to sit there and to play a game together, to do something like that together. I don't care if it's cornhole, Major League Baseball, a darts game that we're doing, or whatever. It's it's special. And when I got into the business in the early 1980s, I had a kind of a different vision. It was, how do we make the world a better place? How do we bring people together? And we've kind of, technology's taken us away from that. And what an opportunity. You know, here I am at 66. I'm still passionate about it. Like I say, my wife says I was born in 1800, froze to death. She's only 10 years younger than me. But she's Swedish. She was an Olympic high jumper. So it's so funny that because I have such a passion for it, her being 10 years younger, she's working for another 10 years. I get to work another 10 years because this isn't work, guys. This is play. This is what we love and what we do that make us unique individuals. Hopefully I get a chance of sharing that with a lot of the world. And like I say, I'm still going to play on my Xbox. I'm still going to play on my PlayStation. I'm not giving those games up, but that's when I want to be by myself. And as I get older, I so much enjoy hanging out with people. And this year's been a tough hangout year.
Oh yeah,
because of COVID, right?
For sure.
And so I always kid and say, well, we're not coming out until early next year. But by that time, everybody's going to be in the same house that we're all going to be fighting, right? Now let's play together. Let's have fun together. So, all right. And you guys, I'm sure, have a lot of questions. I could expand on it.
A quick one.
Yep.
What is your favorite game of all time? Do you have a 5 or a favorite one-time game that you always go back to?
I still play Tetris a lot. And because I'm somewhat involved with it from a marketing standpoint, I should say Tetris. But it's one of my favorites. I loved R-Type. R-Type, I mean, I flew to Japan just to buy a Neo Geo to play R-Type. I would say that's a commitment. That was pretty big. I loved Mule back in the day. I love playing Gato, which is our submarine simulation. Just side note, with Gato being on the PC, we'd shipped it, and I get this call from this guy who's working at IBM in Boca Raton, Florida. He says, I'd love to order 75 copies for everybody in here, but he said, we can't get away with playing it at work. So I went to my coders. We put in a fake spreadsheet into it with the boss key. And Wall Street Journal in 1984 and said I invented the boss key.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you get one key and it pops up a spreadsheet. If you ever had a copy of Gato, it popped up a spreadsheet and it highlighted $39.95, the retail price of the product. So it was marketing too. But
Nice.
so I was involved with inventing this fake spreadsheet because I crossed that bridge of developer marketing sales.
Mm-hmm.
I understood what we were trying to do. Hell, I just did it so I could sell 75 copies because I'd only sold 50 copies at the time, right? Yeah, it was a financial gain for me. It's things like that you don't think that you did. I spoke at the first 3DO conference, and as you can tell, I like speaking, and my microphone went out and I was in a hall of 3,000 people. You know what? Everyone could hear me. I can raise that voice, and I don't need a stupid ass microphone. So but when you have passion for what you do, I mean, and notice how I'm skirting around because my favorite game might not have been my own. So I'm almost avoiding the question. R-Type had to be, without question, one of my favorites. It's funny. I play a couple of different word games, Words with Friends, with about 30 or 40 people. Most of them, Ken Williams was the founder of Sierra Online. Trip Hawkins was the founder of Electronic Arts. These are the people I grew up with. And it's funny, when I started Spectrum, there was Trip Hawkins at Electronic Arts. There were Ken Williams at Sierra Online, Doug Carlston at Broderbund. And they all had such big egos. All I had to do was call them, and they'd talk for an hour, about like I am now. And I could learn everything to do in the video game business just by shutting up, because they had such egos. They told me all the secrets. So it was great. And again, anytime you guys want to know the secrets, I make shit up. I wouldn't necessarily rely on me. But I have a good time with it. But in reality, I've been involved with 350 games. I think when you set a trend, my favorite game was Vet. And people, you'll say, what was Vet? Vet was the first open world game. It was driving along the streets of San Francisco. And incidentally, it was going to be called Corvette, but Chevrolet wanted a 5% royalty. I said, screw it. And I called it Vet and paid them nothing. But you drove through the streets of San Francisco. Patrick Buckland is the founder of a company called Stainless. He was inspired that product. And what did he do? He did a little game called Carmageddon. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Carmageddon. You can look it up. But it was the next open world. And you could run over sheep and people. And we couldn't run over cows in India. But other than that, we were good. But you ran over people. And somebody said, well, he ran over people. Most people didn't realize you could run over people in that back in the early Macintosh days. That was a Mac game on the Macintosh. So he did Carmageddon. And if you talk to the guys who did Grand Theft Auto, they were inspired by Carmageddon and had the idea for Grand Theft Auto. So part of my honor was kicking off a genre. Tetris kicked off a genre. Vet kicked off a genre that became Grand Theft Auto. And my idols were Grace Hopper and the Nanosecond. She was Navy Micro in the late 1970s, and I went to listen to her speak, and I was inspired by that. So, I mean, I could shake hands and kiss babies with the best of them. I was chairman of the board of the Software Publishers Association for all software companies in the world, and but I'm just a guy. I grew up in rural Missouri, and I don't know a stranger. I treat everybody the same. I don't care who. I've hung out with Clint Eastwood at his golf tournament. And I tell you what, I'd love to have Clint on here. Talk about an ordinary, he's an ordinary guy. And matter of fact, I have a Jesse Wales 45 that I won in Clint's golf tournament, one of the proudest trophies I'll ever have. And it's just, but most people, I've never put people on a pedestal, and I don't ever want to be treated that way, although you guys can if you want. I like a little love. I've never done that. I've dealt with, Michael Keaton, and I've dealt with various people, and I did the first music game with Peter Gabriel. But I was rude to them just like I would be to my brother. I was the same to them, which they appreciated because I wasn't building them into a media pedestal, because that's what it is. And I think that's been maybe a key to part of my success in life and getting along with people, because I treat everybody the same, and I don't care who, what, where, because we all are the same. We just have different idiosyncrasies and choices we make. So
I like that.
So that's and that's I watch Modern Family, so that's my philosophy.
All right, it's thank you. Katisha, do you have some questions?
Yes, I do. First of all, I want to, when you're saying R-Type, I was like, why does that keep clinking all over my head? What is R-Type? And I remember I was like, oh, R-Type was actually a pretty cool game. Just from hearing just we're pretty much hearing how most of our favorite developers pretty much started, and just to see that you were like that driving force of just literally just placing people in the right places to start these really successful companies is just really awesome to have you here and hearing your story. It's really cool. I have two questions. One is about Tetris. Mm-hmm. Did you expect a game like Tetris, which is, it's a very simple game, just to blast off to where it is, from being on almost virtually every single console to now being this battle royale thing with Tetris 99? Did you ever expect Tetris to just take off the way it did?
I'd be really smart if I said yes, huh? Well, I think I knew it was special. And the reason why, if you were a pure development person, it was so simple, anybody could do it. So my partner, who was more technology oriented, didn't care a lot for it because it was so simple. I realized, and it actually, I think, had the first user base that had over 50% women. It broadened the market. When I was at the show where I introduced Tetris to Hank Rogers at CES in Las Vegas that year, I was lucky enough to hop in a limo. Not that I could afford one, I couldn't. I would have been riding a freaking bicycle to the airport. but I hopped in with a guy named Rod Judy, who was the president of Nintendo Europe. I said, let me show you something special. I know you're getting ready to ship a little thing called the Game Boy. I think I've got a product that can make the Game Boy. And I think your product, the Game Boy, can make my product, Tetris. I always had a belief. Did I think it could be the largest selling video game of all time? Now, nobody can predict that. But I understand how simple it was to use. And if you go back and look, if you really look at what we're doing in television and Amico today, safe family is, it stands for safe, safe, affordable family entertainment, low cost software, easy to play, only 2 or 3 buttons. Everything lights up. So if it's grandma's turn and she's got the red car, your button lights up red and she hits the red button and she plays. So she doesn't have to look for the X or Y button or the Z button or whatever. We're going back to basics is what we're doing. And I think that would, I don't know if that really answers your question, but I think I knew it was special. The fact that we went out and got Gorbachev and Reagan lookalikes, complete with the red star on it. I actually got to meet Gorbachev, which is a totally different story for another podcast. But I think the interesting thing really was, I knew it had to be special. And when I'm negotiating the rights in Russia, and the lawyer I'm negotiating with has the equivalent of 2 M16s and soldiers standing behind him, you really think, how hard do I want to negotiate this point? But you know what? What's great about our business in the 70s and 80s is we were all naive. We didn't know we could do great things. We didn't know we could build a product that would sell millions. We didn't know Tetris would hit 100 million copies because we didn't have those blocks thinking, oh God, I could never do that. We always thought we could do whatever. I mean, I watched my dad as a factory worker play baseball and do great things. And he taught me a work ethic that was, and he enjoyed his work and he enjoyed his kids. And I had other mentors that I looked up to. One was a high school math teacher who had a good time teaching math, if you can imagine. Holy shit. And one of my math teachers was so bad for algebra 2 that I had a 69% grade and I had the top grade in the class and got an A because he couldn't relate to us. He couldn't teach high school students because he was above. And so I've always prided myself in taking the passion and the love that the developer and programmer has. I was part of working with Brian Fargo of creating the moniker for Interplay, by gamers for gamers. It was trademarked. And I think that's when we first built games, we were building them for ourselves. No analytics of who's playing this and who's doing that. And we've got to do this so we can do it. And if you'll notice what we're doing on a television, there are no loot boxes. There's no downloadables. When mom buys a Intellivision Amico for their child or for their father, that $10 for that game is all they're going to spend until they want to buy Major League Baseball 2 next year. The A method. But again, I'm not spending $5 million in development. The game, I'm spending $150,000 to $200,000 in development per game, so we can bring that type of value and entertainment to people. And you're not going to spend. You might buy 2 more controllers, but you get 2 wireless chargeable controllers with the system, with touch screens. And I can tell you that those controllers are almost the most expensive part of our entire system. Although we have a Snapdragon chip, we've got a good chip, powerful chip, enough to drive 2.5D. But we're not doing 3D open world. We're driving things off like an Earthworm Jim or an old Intellivision favorite, Night Stalker, or or those kind of games will be the driving force behind the type of game that we're doing, games that everybody can enjoy. And incidentally, we're saying couch co-op, but all of our games will be single player as well. You can't just sit there and force people to play with somebody. I mean, some of you guys don't even have friends, right?
No, I'm one of those. I'm one of those people. I try to get my siblings to play. They don't want to.
I have my wife, but she's 10 years younger. She can run faster than me, and she can kick my ass at Farkle. So what the hell good am I? It's an opportunity of bringing people together. Do I think 2 or 3 years down the road we'll bring internet play in? Probably, but for right now we're bringing people together. We're making game night again. You know how you go to your friend's house and have a D&D night or whatever. We're just we're giving you that opportunity to do it with a controller and right there on your TV with stereo sound. And no, we're not 8K or 4K, but we're 1080p. Our stereo graphics. And if you guys look up and know Tommy Tallarico, he's an artist, a musician. Most people don't know that Tommy's cousin, Steven Tallarico, who changed his name, is Steven Tyler, the lead singer of Aerosmith. So Tommy created Video Gamerz Live. He owns the Guinness Book of World Records. 780,000 people he performed Video Gamerz Live at the Bird Auditorium in Beijing, China. 780,000. This is video game music with a symphony orchestra. And when he created that, everybody said, "You're nuts. People who go to symphonies don't like video game music. Video game music, they don't like symphony." They put their first concert on 20 years ago at the Hollywood Bowl and sold it out, over 12,000 people. And if you've ever had a chance to go to Video Gamerz Live or watch it on YouTube, it's something unique and special. But I encourage you to watch just our 11-minute hardware video, because we incorporate lights, not only on your controller, but on our console. And so we bring in music and lights. We give you not just playing, we give you a show. We give you something unique. And just so you know, if you're playing Safecracker, it might be a color combination like the old Simon game that you have to get to unlock it. We're doing things uniquely. And just so you know, you all, if you don't have my email, I'm the guy who signs on product. You want to develop some games for us, come and see me. So, I'm really not doing it as a commercial. We're publishing everything. So we're going to do 30 to 50 games. We're not going to have 1,000 games like on mobile. We're doing things, curating it ourselves to be unique and special. And you know what? You don't have to have cuss words in to make a game good. And we're doing Night Stalker, which is still kind of a shoot 'em up with robots and stuff. We're doing fun stuff, but we just want to make it so the family doesn't have to think about what they're buying or whether it's something that they can have in the family. They can. All our games are E+10. We're getting criticized some for it, that we're not bringing out more violent games. You can get violent games all day long on the other platforms. We're different. We're unique. We may not appeal to everybody, but neither did the Wii 102 million times. My mother bought a Wii. She's never owned a video game system in her life.
That video you were talking about.
I'm sorry about answering so long, guys.
No,
it's okay. The video you were talking about,
I'm going to buy one from you.
Oh, go ahead. The video you were talking about, is that at your Intellivision YouTube? Or didn't?
Yes. Go to Intellivision Amico, our Intellivision Amico webpage. After you've had a chance to look at that, I tell you what I'll do. I would love to come back on with our CEO, Tommy Tallarico, who also go to Video Gamerz Live and look at that and look at his history. And I'll get him on your show. You think I'm fun? He kicks my ass. So, but he and I share the same birthday, February 18th. The difference is I'm 14 years older. He says, "At least you're not old enough to be my dad." I says, "I was born in Missouri. I think I am old enough to be your dad."
If you're watching all the bio information and television YouTube, it's all located in the description, so you guys can also look into there and look for his videos and all that great, awesome stuff. All right.
Yeah, we have like an 8-minute video of like about 15 or 20 games and snippets of it, what we've announced so far. Like I say, we're bringing out Sesame Street. We've got a Care Bears product. We've got Major League Baseball, which looks great. And it's playable. It's playable by not the person who needs to have a 300 batting average and players' names. We did license Major League Baseball, but we didn't do the players' names because all the players are equal. You'll have fun with your dad or your brother or sister or whomever. You can have a good time. And, you know, you've got 6 pack-in games. Farkle is one of them, a dice game, which is my wife and I play every single day. Not on the video game system now. We will once we have that. But I play Farkle every day. And Cornhole is a pack-in game. And, you know, and you'll see the other sign-in games or whatever. Skiing is coming back. That was an all-time great buy in television. When you look at skiing on our system compared to skiing from 1979, you'll get that we're unique. You'll get that we're different. You'll get the fact that you can play 4-player skiing and knock into each other, and you got to jump over some deer, and you got an avalanche. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty cool.
I just had one more question.
Yep.
And I didn't mean to. If I stole someone's Tetris question, I apologize for if I stole his Tetris.
You can ask different Tetris questions, like how did I lose the rights and get aced out of $600 million, and I can answer that one too. But anyway.
So just and we've talked like before we did this show, and I mentioned that, you know, me realizing that this is in a field that I would love to get into, because just hearing you talking about just passion for gaming and being able to work with these different developers and these different producers and, you know, setting them up, for someone like me who would love to get to pursue something like that, what is some, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, what is something that you can give someone like me who, like, advice or any tips or anything to be able to pursue the career path that you have, and go on for the 40 years that you have, or maybe even longer?
Believe in yourself. I mean, believe in what you can bring that's unique and different. When you're dealing with people, let them understand your passion. What our industry about is truly passion. We have a passion for video games. We have a passion for entertainment. We have a passion for what we do. And if you're a passionate individual, let that shine. Jason Enos, the guy I talked about a second ago, who my son idolizes, who did Metal Gear Solid. He was 14 years old, and he wrote a letter to the president of Sega about something he didn't like and whatever. The president called him up and hired him at 14. He had to get his parents' sign off on it because he was passionate. And you know what? I can get Jason Enos on your show sometime. If you want, I've got some great people that when you have a filler or whatever, let me know. And they all have great great stories. And I'd like, you know what would make my day is if in a week you went from 1,200 subscribers to 2,400, and then next week we went to 4,800. And if we can do something to help that, by God, I will. Because we need to spread that message about why we're something unique and special. And I've done a podcast that had 12 subscribers, but you know what? He's over 1,000 today, and not because of me, because I got him other people that were bigger hits than me. So sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
Exactly.
And again, what you don't do is you don't overpromise. You underpromise and you overdeliver. You're modest. I'm modest because I'm me. I'm no more, no less than anybody else. I've been very fortunate in my life to work with some, I won't say great people, interesting people. I hope if you get nothing else out of this, when you sit back and think about me being on your show, he was an interesting guy. He's a good guy. Actually, I'm an asshole, but to tell you the truth, I'd like you to think I'm a good guy. But is this E-rated? I'm sorry. Anyway, I think ultimately, I don't know if location is a big thing. Location, not so big anymore. If you got some great coding skills or whatever, one of my best developers is out of Melbourne, Australia. They're hiring people all over the world now because it's a virtual programming world now. They're doing Sesame Street product for me. They're doing Hot Wheels product for me. They're doing Major League Baseball for me. They did a game for EA. They did a big time basketball game years ago. If I do a basketball game, but you know what? They interview and hire people around. Going to Game Developer Conference, getting a group of people together and kind of showing what you can do. And I don't know if any of you guys have published games before or whatever, but you know, it's right now, I can't promise a lot because we're doing a limited number of games. I know a lot of people, but create passion, spread your network out. You now know me, right? I'm on LinkedIn, Phil Adam, hook me up on LinkedIn. If you want to get to know me personally, you can send me a Facebook, although you really don't want to see that. I put out half my family is Swedish and I talk Swedish all the time. And not really. I'm a sports enthusiast. I actually played a little bit of baseball in the St. Louis Cardinals organization at one time in my life. So really different for a nerd. Most nerds weren't professional athletes, but you know, it's just make yourself available and don't be afraid to talk to people. Ask Phil Adam a question like that and you'll get my email address. And but if you get to my LinkedIn address, you've got 1,800 people, including Mark Cuban, the owner of the what's that Dallas team, the Mavericks or I don't know. Anyway, but make connections, and don't promise something you can't deliver, so people will trust you. At the end of the day, we've all done different things. And, you know, like Lizzie, we've gone to her Comic-Cons and look what she survived in her life. And she and I are Facebook friends. And I look at people, I don't become friends with people lightly because I have a philosophy. Larry Probst, after Trip Hawkins, the next president of EA was a guy named Larry Probst, who also has been the head of the U.S. Olympic Committee. Larry and I lived about 7 or 8 miles from each other. He actually lived next door to a guy named John Madden, which you probably heard of because of the video game. But Larry and I played golf together. Larry taught me an important lesson in life. I give Larry a call within 24 hours after that call or send him an email. He would respond to me. Hey, Phil, I can't get to you. Can we talk in 2 weeks? Hey, Phil, what's up? I actually try to respond to people, and there's probably 100 people out there that are going to call me a liar right now because maybe I can't get to everybody, but I make an attempt to get back with people, and I may say I can't do anything now or whatever, but if you get a hold of me, email me. The best place to do it's on LinkedIn. I get so many emails in a day, and I don't get a lot of LinkedIn messages. It's just Phil Adam. And in Southern California, send me a LinkedIn invite. Although I do think if you want to send me a Facebook invite, I will accept it with you guys. So, but I don't want too many people because I try to keep Facebook more personal and LinkedIn more business.
Makes sense.
But you know, it's use your connections, use people you know, let them understand your passion. You know, and look at what makes you unique and what you've got to offer. For me, I didn't have anything unique or that I could offer, so I started my own company because that way I could hire me and I never fired me.
Simple.
Nice.
But if you want to sit there and send me a LinkedIn and send me an invite and we'll share emails, I will tell you something I did one time. Back in the day at Interplay, a guy calls me. It was a really bad day. I wasn't busy. He got through to me somehow. Incidentally, I did the same thing with the president of Sesame Street about 6 months ago. I called up and talked to his secretary. Oh, hey, Scott don't know me. Tell him it's Phil. Hey, Phil, how you doing? I go, Phil, yeah, it's Phil Adam within television. Oh, I thought you were my friend, Phil. I am your friend, Phil. So I've never known a stranger, and I can even teach you the art of bullshit. I'm good with that one too. But I think the thing that you do, and incidentally, Scott and I are very good friends today, and we're doing a lot of product together because they believe in a mission that we're bringing fun back into the living room for children, which hasn't been true since the Wii for that age group on consoles. But anyway, take advantage of it. Send me a LinkedIn. We'll talk there. If I get a half-hour time and you want to talk sometime, we can schedule a Zoom call or a LinkedIn call or whatever. I don't know that I can be your answer, but I can at least give you some thoughts and ideas to maybe make you see it a different way. And remember, what is an expert? An expert is somebody who has opinion about something that they've done in their life that they can share with you. Doesn't make them right or wrong. It gives you something to learn from of possibly building into whatever decision you make. So anybody who says they know it all is full of shit, besides me. I think that's really the key. Take advantage of the relationships, and I encourage you to send me a LinkedIn invite. And again, I didn't make a commitment that Tommy could be on your show sometime because of anything other than if I call up Tommy now, he'll be on your show. So it's not a problem. He loves doing something like this. And I think we've got a unique message within television. We don't want you to quit playing the Xbox or the PlayStation or the Switch or whatever your poison is. We just like to poison you a little more.
There we go. And we're always welcome to keep bring you back, of course, and keep on spreading the word for television. So
I appreciate it, but at the end of the day, you guys keep on spreading the word for video games and for what we do that's unique and different. And we're not all in a closet in a dark room. Only half of us are. So
I'm one of those people.
But we give you a chance. I mean, isn't this fun? You guys, there's 5, 6 of us, 7 of us sharing together. Wouldn't that be bitching to do that on an Amico, all playing together so I could kick your ass?
Yeah. Anyone got questions on One Up? You got something for us?
So what is it like? Because you've been in the industry a long time. What is it like working in the industry now versus back when you started? Like how technology's evolved a lot since then, obviously.
It has. That's again why I went into sales and marketing. So honestly, a good teacher, I consider myself a good teacher. A good teacher, if you're not learning 90% of the time, the 10% of the time you're teaching is bullshit and it isn't worth the paper it's written on. You've got to be constantly learning. Look at the evolution of our selling games for $39 and then now the $80 or whatever. And then we went to mobile and then we went to free to play. And how do you monetize? And there's 42 million games on mobile. And how do you do that? I tell you what, the one thing you have to be is, I don't know if you have to be quick on your feet, but you have to rely on other people to bring that education to you. You can't learn everything on your own, so you need to build that network that can reinforce what you don't know. And again, by not having an ego, you let rock stars in their own field shine. But I think it's the ability to have an arbitrator mentality, to get along, to figure out where the next wave's going, for what's in the future. I have to get a little bit of the future of 2 years ahead, not 10 years ahead for now. But I have to be aware of where the market's going 10 years from now, or at least learn from those who put the time and effort into doing that. So how to sell a system, somebody says, gosh, in television, that's a retro name. That product should be $79. Well, if my cost of goods wasn't 4 times that, I could do that. But it's not. We're doing a modern day console, but we're doing it a little bit differently. We're not doing it at the cost of the new Xbox and the new PlayStation and where the Nintendo Switch is. We're going to let Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft fight over the 250 million hardcore gamers. We're going to go after those 3 billion that not so many people are after, other than the phone companies with the mobile games, except we're going to do it with multiplayer couch co-op gaming that offers something, a unique experience that you can't get there. And we're doing it at the same price. You realize it's been 15 years since we've seen the Wii?
Wow, yeah.
For you guys, half your life. For me, about 10%. I mean, honestly, it's been 15 years. And what happened? Nintendo. First of all, I'm going to say this respectfully, because Nintendo's a great company, really successful, really profitable. What letter does the word Nintendo start with? N. What does it end with? No. No, that's what Nintendo's about. No, people in Europe and other people were crying for more of the sports games and Wii Fit and bowling and the sport, you know, and Nintendo went right back to their wheelhouse. They went to Mario. They went to Metroid Prime. They went to what they do well, and they do it well, and they do it as well as anybody. But the space in the family wasn't their market. And I know we talked the family comm, but I hate to tell you, if you've got a Switch, you can download some of the most grotesque product you've ever seen in your life because there is no curation. And so parents, don't hand a 6-year-old your Switch and have them figure out your code of how to order a product, because you're going to be surprised what they can get a hold of. No loot boxes. We don't do any of that. We make it simple. But again, we're a family system. It's what we're doing unique or different. I don't know if I hope that answered your question. I go off
Absolutely.
on tangents all the time. And I'm such a storyteller. When my Tetris book originally comes out and I tell you how I lost the rights and lost $600 million because of it, I'll leave that one for the book. So, and if you want, you can go back. If you look at the original BBC documentary of Tetris, you'll see Phil Adam about 30 years ago. See this goatee here? Well, you probably can't see it since it's gray. It was all black and dark, and all this was black and dark. And I probably weighed 40 pounds. I think I look better now. But see, that's what you have to have enough of an ego to think you're still hot. Even when we get old, we still think we're hot. We're guys. We always think we're hot, no matter if we weigh 450 pounds. So
that's awesome.
Xavier,
what other questions you've got? And again, I always say the only stupid question is one you don't ask in life, and always remember that. But if it is kind of stupid, I will laugh at it still, but that's okay.
What you got for us, Xavier?
Oh, my friend Vanessa wanted to know what's Phil's highest record of lines in Tetris.
Oh, man. You know, I don't know that I will tell one story and then I'll try to answer it. When we were first doing Tetris and did the first version of it, we put in the honor roll screen, the top 10, because I wanted her to be able to race my scores so she could still get on the board. Thank God I put it in there, because within 3 to 4 weeks, I was erasing her score so I could get mine.
Oh my gosh.
We had Tetris tournaments in the early day, and we first did PC and we did Mac. And we did a Mac World in Boston. We did a contest, and it wasn't necessarily math people or whatever that were the best. It was piano players, organists, people with finger dexterity, because we were doing it on a keyboard. That all changed later. I don't honestly know what my best score was. I don't like to admit it, because there are, out of 50 million people, there are probably 49 million people that can beat me. I don't know. I was good. I love playing head to head. I mean, I could tell you the story of the version that Tengen brought out that got taken off the market because of the Nintendo Tengen lawsuit. And I could give you details that never came out about that. Another time, another story, but it was head to head. So I don't know how many lines, because on the PC version, which is where I mainly played it, by the time you got to level 7 or 8, we made the blocks coming down so fast because we only had 10 levels, and we didn't want anybody to ever get past it. So it was impossible to beat it at level 10, because I wanted to ship it. I didn't want to keep programming. So Gilman Louie, my partner at Spectrum Holobyte, we were doing Falcon, the F-16 simulator. He says, hey, I can beat Bill Staley over at Microprose in his F-18 or his F-15. Just give me another year. I can beat it by 100%. I said, here's the sales and marketing side of me. I says, just beat it by 10% and I'll ship it. I want to get a year's worth of revenue before we beat it by 100%. So those are the things that are fun when you're making decisions in the video game business. What's enough? I've always prided myself into when we put in the hours of gameplay, it was a really good value. I mean, I've done stinker product, but I can't remember what they were because I've lost them out the back of my brain as quick as I could remember. We did a product called Descent to Undermountain at Interplay that sucked green weenies. I don't know if that's a word or not, but it was terrible. It's probably the worst game I was ever involved in. But just tell her whatever she did, I did one line less and she beat me, because that's what I tell my wife all the time, because that way I live a happy life.
Smart man.
Xavier, anything else or another?
Yeah, one more. Her husband, Andy, wants to know what is the best platform to play Tetris on?
Oh gosh, that's a brilliant question. I mean, Tetris in the day back when we played it in the beginning, compared to technology and the games that the Tetris company and Maya and those guys have done today, I think the most intuitive ever, and it was before we even had color on the Game Boy, was the original Game Boy version. That rocket blasting off, the fact that everybody could play it. It's how Tetris became a household word. When can you do a video game? And I was with a couple the other day and they were packing the back of their car and the guy couldn't get it in, and the wife said, here, let me Tetris it to fit the blocks in or to fit the luggage in to get it in the trunk. It became a household word. The Game Boy was special because it went out to millions and millions of people. It was bundled with the system. There's probably been better versions, but probably the version that made Tetris a household word was maybe the Game Boy version. We think the PC was special because if you look at what I looked at, in somewhere in my garage, I had that original. There was no music, there was no background, there was no scoring system. So every single version of Tetris along the years has, some of them have improved in it. As a matter of fact, if you went to a game called Weltris, which came down the sides and split, I think my daughter and I's names are in the credit as co-designers. We worked with Alexia on how we would make that work. People wanted to do 3D Tetris. I was against it. Why? Because you lose that, the playability of it by thinking of depth as well as up and down. It didn't become intuitive to where you could react quickly and do things quickly. I never liked that. I didn't do it at Spectrum because I thought it took away the beauty of the product, and other people have made it later. And, you know, I mean, you take other favorite games of mine all time. Yes, favorite Bonk, because that had kind of that 3D type perspective or whatever. Marble Madness was fun for me, and you know, I like math oriented type things as well, you know. But I think I'd have to say the one that influenced the world the most was the original Game Boy. I think more people heard about it because of that. I used to do a survey. I flew everywhere. I'd go down a plane and I'd ask 20 people on a plane how many people heard of Tetris, and eventually my mom said yes, but other than that, everybody knew about it. So I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Lizzie, did you have a question?
Yes. So what do you think of all the Tetris clones out there? You know, you got like Dr. Mario. For Sega, there was Dr. Robotnik's main Beam Machine, Puyo Puyo. So what do you think of Tetris inspiring all these other clones?
I think I said it a little earlier in the podcast, is that I enjoy the fact that with Tetris, with things like that, with that, the precursor to Grand Theft Auto, of setting a genre of product that created a huge revenue. It's kind of an honor that people want to imitate. And I say what I did. Let's get down to it. What Alexi did, what the original people did. I just represented it. But it's really, when I first saw something like a Tetris, that I felt like it was worthy of bringing to people to play, that gut instincts I had of what made a commercial product, of what could be a commercial success. And I didn't think of it in terms of that. I just thought, what the hell can be fun? I think because I didn't do analytics, because I wasn't so worried about what a million people would think, I wanted to know what my friends thought and the people I knew thought. And if that was fun for them, it would be fun for a lot of people. Notice I'm very handsy talking, but it's an honor to be inspired. I think some of them are crap. I like the intuitiveness of Tetris. You all understand truly where Tetris came from. Alexei named it because tetra in Russian means four.
Yeah.
IS at the end of it. Does anybody know where the Tetris came from? The IS at the end? Who knows where that came from? He liked tennis. He liked tennis, so he took the IS off the end of tennis and made it Tetris. That's how he came up with it. What did Tetris had? It had 7 different shapes of blocks. All the blocks were 4. If you go into mathematical equations, the mind remembers 7 plus or minus 2. So you're dealing with math. So the very first time you played Tetris, and this is where I hooked your ass, you scored 400 points. The next time you played it, you scored 500. Why? You're training your mind. The next time you played it, you scored 700 points, and then you scored 1,000. You're getting better every time. We sit there and I won't say we trained your brain, but we made you feel better about yourself. And I'm going to share one story with you.
Yeah.
My daughter was in the 4th grade. She was a little heavy, different things like that. She didn't have the most confidence. People teased her. She could play Tetris better than anybody. And I watched her self-confidence grow as a person, as an individual. I saw it do something unique that I'd never seen before. And it's why I'm in the business today, to make this world a better place. I really am. And I've got to experience that in life. And again, I know I go off on tangents on the questions you ask, but I think sometimes it's kind of interesting to hear a little different perspective on, what makes us unique, what makes us special. So I maybe that answered your question. Anybody else?
Thank you for that. Go ahead, Lizzie.
Oh,
I think Lizzie's got something else.
Yep.
Yeah. What's your favorite Tetris music, like from the NES, the Game Boy? I mean, I think the Game Boy and NES are the same. But did you have a favorite Tetris music?
Yeah, what we originally created on the PC. We came up with the original art backgrounds and the Soviet Russian music from a communist China that we took, that really made that product something different than just a game. It was the first real global game success. Maybe there was something else. I mean, my friend of mine, Nolan Bushnell, would have said it was Pong, but I mean, he takes credit for Pong. Hell, he didn't write it. But then again, I can take credit for Tetris. I didn't write it, but I don't. I think it was the original scores that we did, not the quality of the music or stereo, Lizzie, but it added a flavor to the product that I think made it accessible on the Game Boy and other versions later. And I look at, different music kind of sets the stage. That's why Tommy does what he does with Video Gamerz Live. And, taking that video game music and putting it with a symphony orchestra and Tommy rocking out with his guitar. I mean, it's a hell of a unique experience.
Cool.
And a big part of that experience is the light show that goes on with it. That's what's going to make the Intellivision Amico unique from any other system. It isn't just a solid light. The lights can go around the console. You'll see it when you see the video, and you'll go, holy shit, this is entertainment. No, we're not going to kick Sony and Microsoft's ass. We're not going to put out games that look what theirs does. We're going to give you a piece of entertainment for a $10 piece of software. You're going to go, that was money well spent. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Tommy Tallarico. Thank you, Intellivision. And if you don't say that, then don't send me a LinkedIn invite. No, I'm kidding.
I'll say thank you now.
I'll still be your buddy. And honestly, I play other video game systems, but I do a lot. I mean, I'm 66. I've played competitive softball up until this past year when I couldn't because of COVID, and part of a team that won world championships. And how can baseball or softball be the World Series when it's only played in North America? Well, we have international stars come all over. My wife keeps saying it can't be the World Series. It's not like FIFA or soccer or football, as they call it in Europe. That's an international sport. There's no World Series in baseball, right? You know, so again, and I have to let her win the argument because I like having a wife that go on in life. So anyway, I think that, again, we're in a very unique position to where a lot of people go to work. And if you can make a life for yourself in the video industry, you can work around your passion. You know, none of us know. I'm very fortunate that I've lived 66 years. On February 18th, when I turned 67, it will be my 50th anniversary of taking a 1970 Caprice head on into a tractor crossing, flipping it end over end 8 times and living through it with only this scratch to show. I was on a flight from London to Paris when they told us that the wheels wouldn't come down and they were foaming the runway. And this lady I didn't know grabbed my arm. And I said, look, I didn't live through this wreck on my 17th birthday to crash in a stupid plane. You're going to be just fine. I don't know that I believe in destiny, but every single day we have an opportunity to be unique, to be who we are. What makes the world great? Every one of you individually is what makes the world great, because you're all different. We don't look the same. I used to look like Bradford, but he got old. But I think we all contribute to society in different ways. God, what an opportunity. And yes, I'm a glass half full guy, but I encourage you, to be the best you can be. I mean, there's people that critique Tommy Tallarico because of his passion in bringing back in television. Oh, it's not Nintendo. It's not Microsoft Xbox. That's bullshit. Well, I'm sorry. It's amazing. It is something unique. We're not trying to be something we're not. We're being who we are, and we're being the best we can be. And hopefully people will be better because of it. I don't know. It's that simple.
Thank you
to
for
me.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
So please, all of you guys, and spread the love, and let's get you guys to 1 million subscribers. What the hell?
Thank you.
And then you can send me. Then you can send me a paycheck every week. We'll be good.
We'll be definitely be trying. I definitely want to try it out and even present it. I'm very interested, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. So something that we'll be looking at. So
well, I think one thing we will do is maybe we'll wait a few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, when Tommy can actually show a system on your show and be one of the first shows we show it on. If you guys would love that, if you'd like to do something like that, I would love that. And I have to tell you, you are in for a treat. Tommy is an entertainer. To me, it comes somewhat natural, but Tommy's a showman. He is, and he is passionate. His first game system was in television. He remembers playing it with his mom and his dad, and playing baseball and sitting down, and he's got the pictures to prove it. He's a very unique and passionate individual. You don't run a video game company and go out and buy one if you don't have some kind of an ego, but his ego's in the right place. He's driven by this, and you guys will enjoy him. And I'll come on with him. So, because I'm happy to share that with you guys. So any other questions? I've got about another 10 minutes. If anybody's got anything else they'd like to ask.
Anyone? Closing statements for anyone? Or ask questions at all?
Just for me, I just want to close out just for me saying that I'm pretty sure we all feel the same way, to have someone who pioneered all this to get us to where we are. It's like a truly an honor to even, it's still, and I was just like Mr. Switch said earlier, it's just like it's you get nervous seeing, being able to talk to people like that, but it's such a great thing to have someone who's pushed this so hard to where we can be passionate and love games, so we can do what we're doing right now. For me, I appreciate having you here.
Yeah, I cut one story short that I'm going to end this with. So the guy who called me the day that I didn't have any time for him, I gave him my home office number. I told him to call me at 10 o'clock that night. He called me at 10 o'clock that night. He was trying to start a video game company, and we spent about a half hour on the phone. Oh my God, you've helped me so much, Phil. You've got me to believe in myself. What can I do for you? I said, 10 years, 15 years from now, when you're running a successful company and somebody asks for a half hour of your time, give it to them and you will pay me back in, 10 times over. So give people your time. Let them give you your time. And remember, that's a good thing. It really is. This has been an honor for me. I really do mean that. I mean, there's 5 people that I've now indoctrinated into my doctrine that you can go out and spread the gospel and belong to my church. That's great. I think that it really has, it's an honor because I learned a lot in this session, because I learned from the 6 of you that what you bring to me makes me a better person. It fits into who I am. And I love that. I mean, what a great opportunity we have, and my wife told me before I got on, she says, take all the glasses. Well, hell, I can't see you guys if I do. She says, Phil, it makes you look old. I says, baby, I am old. So, and they are reading glasses, so I can see across the room just fine. I just like to see all of your smiling faces. And again, our message, I don't care what video game system you're playing. It's a good thing. It can be a good thing in sharing with others. And I mean, it can be competitive too, right? I was an athlete in sports, and I didn't, my dad said he was the first person he ever saw that was as competitive as him. I didn't like to lose. I grew up in the Vince Lombardi days. Show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser. I mean, but it's not that. I have a tendency when I compete, I like winning or losing just a little. And somebody says, why is that? And it says, because I give the person I just beat by a little bit the false impression that they can win the next time and I can kick their ass again. So that's who I am. You got kind of not just a look at Phil Adam, the video game guy, you got a look at Phil Adam, the person. And I think that's what I got from all of you. And again, I hope that you can take some of this, and I hope you share on LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn, send me that message, and we at least I can give you a half hour of my time, and then someday, because I'm going to come back and ask you for a half hour a year. So
awesome. One up. Do you have a finishing statement?
I just wanted to thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. I learned a lot, actually. It's kind of cool to see someone who's actually inside the business, and because I love my passion, and I just love to be able to hear someone else's passion for gaming too. So It was a pleasure coming on. Thank you so much.
You got it. I mean, people say, why are you doing 30 games instead of 200 games? Well, I don't have $200 million to pay developers to do games for me. I have 3 or 5. So I can only do so many games. One thing we do get, and not that I can't promise it, but David Perry, 40 years in the business, 35 years in the business. Tommy Tallarico, 35 years in the business. Jason Enos, 25 years in the business. We're not Ouya. We understand that we've got to deliver great content and make our system fun. And that is our goal. And the more you guys spread that message, the better content we can come out with. So even though we're coming out with content at a low price, it doesn't mean we're doing anything but coming out with great and enjoyable content that you guys, when you're playing couch co-op, yes, we have to have AI, but your friends create AI too, which makes a game not a 4-hour game now, makes it a 40 or an 80-hour game, because the personal touch comes into who you're playing with or who you're competing with. It's the way you can build a game that lasts for many hours to come. Again, guys, on LinkedIn, you send me a message, you have a question. I may not have all the answers, but I know enough people in the businesses I probably do know who has the answer, and I can find it out for you pretty easily. So I don't proclaim to be a know-it-all, but I do love it all. I love this business, and I thank you for having me.
Thank you. Xavier, you want to finish a statement?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Oh, he said some words tonight that I haven't heard in a long time. COBOL, basic language, Atari 400. I don't meet too many guys that talk about the old Atari stuff, and it's just awesome to meet you and hear your story.
You met somebody from the Ice Age. Look at that.
That's right. Oh my God, growing up, that's what my dad talked about all the time. He's a programmer, so he'd talk about basic COBOL, and he'd talk about compiling, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And
guess what? You realize when I programmed in Fortran in 1972, 73, I punched a card. We took this stack of cards, we sent it to Kansas City I went to Northeast Missouri State, and I think it's Truman State now. I'm so old, they've even changed the name of the frickin' college. But so we take this stack of cards, we'd send it to Kansas City that they'd run it through the mainframe. And about 4 days later, we get back the printout of what that program was to see if we were right or wrong. Now you sit there and you can bitch about the speed of the internet, but people, we dealt with it a lot slower. So.
How about you, Liz? Liz, you got something?
I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on. It's awesome that you came on, and I love the part you mentioned about your daughter when she was younger and she was being that she has self-confidence. That meant a lot because I can definitely relate to that. So thank you for mentioning that. That means a lot to me because I don't feel stupid for sharing my story to people.
With that, I'm gonna leave you one interesting fact, because we've got 3 billion people playing games on mobile phones. The money spent on video game market today, it's 51% men playing and 49% women. 80% of the money spent on video games is by women. It just shows where all of our money goes, guys. The women have money because we think we're good looking. We think we're good looking. They're out there making money or stealing money out of our wallet and spending it. Oh, we guys are sitting there beating our chests. So guys, let's get smarter. Come on.
Oh man.
But in essence, how many video game console ads have you seen lately that cater to women? Not many.
No.
You will see that from television. So thank you for that, Lizzie. And I will tell you that we get what that intended demographic is. It's for the entire family because it's split, but the purse strings are controlled by women. We actually just sponsored the Mom 2.0 conference. We've got a lot of great input from the moms. So anyway, thank you for that. Anybody else? You got anybody else there? Mr. Switch,
yeah,
you got something you want to end with?
Yes, I want to, first of all, I want to thank everyone, Kotetsu, One Up, Xavier, Lizzie, for you guys for coming on tonight. I want to thank everyone in the chat box who was commenting and the live chat, and everyone who joined us tonight. And a special thanks to Phil Adams for the opportunity that we have, the great special opportunity we have tonight, and listening to your wise words and everything just kind of inspires and keeps inspiring on the Gamerz Room podcast. And we definitely hope and we would love to have you back and get some more insights, and more about television, and we can talk a little trash here and there, have some fun, have a good time, and
well,
again,
hey, I'm a subscriber, baby.
Oh yeah. So we definitely got a lot more Phil Adams to come, and it's been an honor and has been a very, very awesome time. Do you have any last words, Phil?
I can only think of later bitches, but I don't know.
Yeah, all right.
I'll leave it back.
Again, thank you so much. I enjoyed it, and we'll look forward to seeing you all again.
Oh,
keep it real out there.
All right, guys. Have everyone who's watching in the chat. See you guys until next time on the Gamerz Round. Okay, we are